Hello, Keith Rucker at VintageMachinery.org. Well guys, I'm gonna put together an odds and ends video for you guys. I've got some stuff that has come in and we need to work through it and get things put up and cleaned up here in the shop. Got some really cool things in. I also have a couple announcements, a couple of just housekeeping things I want to talk about. We'll probably put that toward the end of the video. But anyway, let's get into it. Well, I had a visitor come by the shop this past week to visit and brought along some goodies. Brock Griffith, who lives down in Valdosta, Georgia, which is about an hour south of me, was kind enough to bring along this great, huge Wilton vise. Now, when Brock was here, I shot some video of him being here and talking about this and the other stuff that he brought. And unfortunately, when I downloaded my video, we didn't have any audio. I don't know what happened. I screwed up somewhere. I'll probably put a little bit of over video in here just showing Brock so you can take a look at him and see what it's the stuff he brought. But this vise is kind of interesting. Brock is in the Air Force. He actually works as a machinist in the Air Force. He works at Moody Air Force Base. In Valdosta is where he's stationed at right now, which they have A-10s down there. They have helicopter airframe. I can't remember which one, but the PJs, the parajumpers are based out from down there, and they also have C-130s down there. And basically, he works in a machine shop. They support the base, make a lot of parts, do a lot of repair work to the aircraft and the airframes, as well as anything else that comes in, as he told me. But anyway, he spent the better part of the day here just kind of hanging out, whatever, helping me do some things in the shop and what have you. Really enjoyed visiting with Brock. But the story on this vise is that he actually picked this vise up when he was stationed in Turkey a couple of years ago. The shop that he was in over there, he was working as a machinist. They acquired a horizontal milling machine. I said, you know what kind it is? He says, I don't know, it was a big green one. But when that thing came in, they said it was only there for a little while, and they got rid of it almost as quick as it came in. But it had this vise on it, this big Wilton vise, as well as a bunch of horizontal milling cutters, and they were just basically going to get rid of all of it. They didn't really need it in their shop. He wasn't sure exactly where it came from or how it got there, but he said, don't throw that vise away, don't throw that tooling away. He says, I'll take it, and he took it home with him, and it's been traveling around with him as he's been going from station to station, and he finally said he was tired of having it in his garage, and he brought it up here. He's actually getting ready to be stationed, moving over to Japan, and probably didn't want to lug this to Japan and back. But anyway, he was kind enough to bring this Wilton vise and donate it here to my shop, which I greatly appreciate. This is a big, I mean, compared to it's a very similar design as the Kurt vise that I recently restored, but this thing is probably twice as heavy as that Kurt. Has just huge capacity, and it's in great shape. Yeah, there is a little bit of surface rust on it. But all in all, I don't think this vise was hardly ever used. The paint is, there's some chips on here in a couple places, but there's no real signs of abuse on it. Like I said, it was probably used for a few jobs, but not many. And with that big horizontal mill being on a military base somewhere, it probably just never really saw a lot of use. But this thing is awesome, and let me also show you the horizontal milling cutters that he brought as well. So have a tub here full of horizontal milling cutters, and the nice thing about these, well, first off, there's a nice selection in here, a bunch of miscellaneous cutters, different profiles. There's an angle cutter, a bunch of just wheel cutters. There's also quite a few of these involutes in here, which I'm really been on the lookout for involute cutters, and got some smaller ones in here. That's an involute. These are for cutting gears, big slab cutter in here. But the nice thing about this box full of cutters is just like that vise, I don't think most of these cutters were ever used. I think they had them, but they look like they're brand spanking new. I don't think some of them have a little bit of wear on them, but most of them I think are just brand new. So this is really awesome. I'm gonna get these sorted out and put up in the right places. And again, I'm really anxious, I'm really glad to get these involutes. And we got some more involutes coming, so hopefully I'll have a nice selection of involute cutters here pretty soon. So next item here, we got a couple of LED sewing machine lights. And these came from James Long, and I believe he just ordered these off of Amazon. These are kind of neat. We showed some LED lights a couple of episodes ago that a viewer had sent in. And what's neat about these is, well, number one, they're a little bit smaller, but they got a magnet built right into them. So you can just stick this right on a machine, and I believe that's even where you can adjust the light on it. I tell you what, let me get an extension cord and plug those in. Let's check this thing out. So you can see the magnet sticks right down to a piece of metal. So you turn that on, and yeah, you can adjust the light, the brightness of the LED light there with that switch. So anyway, these are kind of cool. James says he uses these on his machines, and he really likes them, so he thought he'd send a couple along for me to try out. So thanks a lot, James. I will definitely put these to use. So this is one I'm really excited about. And this comes from Andre Gross, and I'll say up front, this was not a gift. We actually did some horse trading on this to get this in the shop. And what this is, of course is a steady rest for a lathe, but particularly this is a steady rest that fits on a Monarch 10EE lathe, like I've got the one I picked up recently that I will soon be restoring and bringing back to life. And these accessories right here are sometimes difficult to find if it doesn't come with your machine, and he just happened to have one of these that showed up in his shop somewhere along the way, and he really didn't need it. And anyway, we did some horse trading. I sent him a list of some tools that I had duplicates of and what have you, and I sent him a box of some nice stuff, and he sent me a box with some really nice stuff in it too. And like I said, I'm real excited about this. So this is a big help. This is definitely something that I will need on that lathe. One thing I still would love to find for that Monarch is a follow rest to go on the carriage, and I understand those are pretty hard to come by, but I'm hoping that I can round one of those up at some point. Another neat little item here. This comes from Bill Lee up in Washington State. And Bill sent this along specifically because he saw me struggling to get drive screws out of my machines. And he says he uses these pliers. They're called VAM pliers. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to pull them out. And what's kind of unique about them is they got a little teeth on the end for going straight down on a screw or a drive pin or something like that, and being able to grip it and turn it out. So I'm actually looking forward to trying these out. I was messing with some drive screws the other day, and I'll be honest with you, this was sitting over there in my pile of viewer mail, and I had forgot they'd come in, and I struggled with them. And I was sitting there thinking, man, I wish I had those pliers that guy was telling me about. And I just forgot they were over there. But I know these are definitely going to come in handy. I'm looking forward to giving them a try. I think that just kind of goes over the top to kind of hold them shut. But VAM pliers, screw pliers. I'm really looking forward to trying those out. So next is kind of a cool item here as well. Neat how it worked out. And what you're looking at, this is actually the switch off of the big Cincinnati Bickford drill press that I got from Adam Booth. And the switch lever on here, I took the lever off, but you can see the casing back here. It's been welded up. And I took this thing off, I was working on it, and at some point in time, I think this drill press may have actually fallen over or got hit on the side, I'm not sure, but it busted this whole metal casting up, and in the process they did some damage to these contactors in here. It was not working when I got it. There were multiple issues going on with this whole thing, and I looked at it and I'm like, well dang, I can probably fix that. But lo and behold, I got an email right after I shot that video from Rick Seaman, and Rick said, you know what, they had that exact same drill press, and I don't know what the story was on theirs, but it was being parted out and scrapped. And he said, you need any parts off this thing? And I said, yeah, what about this switch? So he pulled the switch off of the one that they're scrapping, and it's in great shape. Everything appears to be working good, so I'm basically just going to swap these two out. I'm going to keep this one for spare parts in case I ever need them, but there were, like I said, multiple issues with this one. Could have probably got it working. In fact, I know I could have got it working, but this one here I think is just going to it's just going to be a better solution. So anyway, Rick, thank you so much for sending me the email and offering to do that and taking the time to grab it and box it up and send it to me. It's going to be a huge help to have a nice fresh part that's not busted up. So again, amazing guys that, I post something on here and people come out of the woodwork like, oh, I've got one of those, and if you need any parts, man, how many times now have I magically had parts appear for machines that I would have thought there'd never been any spare parts laying around anywhere, just because of this YouTube channel. It just blows my mind. Anyway, Rick, thank you so much. Huge help, and hope to get that drill press back up and running here pretty soon. And speaking of parts for the Cincinnati Bickford drill press, I got another one here. This comes from Richard Douglas, and this is basically a new motor starter that we're going to put on that machine. It's a reversing motor starter, so basically you got two coils in here, and when you go from one to the other, it reverses two of the poles, so it reverses the motor. And there was one in there, and the one that's in there, again, it just had some issues. It looked like a darn squirrel's nest in there, and there were multiple things that just were kind of sketchy about that starter, and Richard saw that in the video, and he said, you know what, I got one that I'll just send you that he had. This one is rated for a 3 horsepower motor, which is what we've got on that. So we're just going to take the whole starter that's on there, the enclosure that it's in, everything, take it off. That enclosure is just, I don't even know that I can clean it up and reuse it. It's just in rough shape. And I've got a new enclosure for it as well that I found locally. But anyway, we're going to swap that out and replace all the electronics on that machine, and hopefully have everything working exactly like it should. And since we're talking about the Cincinnati Bickford, I just thought I'd just real briefly give you an update on this. I have done just a little bit to it. I came in here and I started working on the electrical stuff, trying to figure that out. And we determined that the motor on it was actually wired for high voltage instead of low voltage. So it was wired for 440 instead of 220, or 480 instead of 230, whatever. But I was able to get up in there and change the leads around in the motor. We had the wiring diagram. Had a little bit of an issue where the leads weren't numbered. And I had to do a little detective work, and I got some help from my buddy Forbes Matthews, who knows a lot about motors, and we were able to figure out the lead numbers and got all that hooked up. And so I've tested the motor. I just wired it directly into voltage, plugged it up, and the motor is running and doing what it needed to. There's also a transformer on the back side here that steps down the voltage to 110 volts, which then operates the coils in the starter, and also gets you where you have lower voltage in your switch up here. So if you got a short, you didn't get zapped by 440 volts or 220 volts, it was 110. Yeah, better than the other anyway. But anyway, I was able to figure out how to reconfigure that. It was stepping down 440 to 110, and I've got it configured now. Again, just had to swap the leads around where it's stepping down 220 to 110. So now the motor starter is ready to go back on here. While I had all this off, the paint was peeling, it was looking terrible. I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that up and at least paint that area so I can put my box in there and not have to worry about coming back and doing it. But after I did that, I've kind of had second thoughts, and I think what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and get all the paint stripped off this thing. And this machine, it needs a paint job. But overall, it's not in that bad a condition. This is not really something that I'm gonna have to tear apart and do a rebuild on. It's just more gonna get repainted. So I'm probably gonna take a weekend and just do this thing before I put all the electrical stuff back on there. In fact, I've been contemplating even having a Saturday where if anybody wants to come out to the shop, and many hands make short work, so we can get 4, 5, 6 people, 10 people, whatever. I think we can get this thing done in a weekend, basically, and I think it'd be a fun little thing to do. So haven't got a date for that. Probably just realistically going to be late August or September, maybe even October before I can do that, just looking at my schedule and knowing what all I've got going on. But we may do a little shop weekend out here to do that if anybody's interested. So, I wouldn't expect people to travel long distances, but I know we did some similar things when we did some work here in the shop, and we had, about 10 or 12 people show up to help do some work on some weekends, and that was a really nice size for doing a work weekend. So anyway, we might try that on this machine. And I got another machine coming in too, and we might just try to tackle both of them in one weekend or something, at least get them stripped down and painted. So the other machine's going to be very similar, and I'm not going to spill the beans on it yet. It's going to be a surprise, but it needs to be painted, but it doesn't need to be rebuilt. At least I don't think it does. So anyway, we may try to do that. Well, I've said it many times before. I got some really awesome viewers out there, and you guys send me. You're too kind to me, and this is another case here. So I got a package in the mail the other day and opened it up, and wow. Look at this, a really, really nice collection of some dial indicators. These come from Ted Ill, and Ted had actually contacted me a while back, told me he had some indicators he wanted to send me, and it took a little while to get them packed up and to me, but they arrived. And I'll just read to you what he put in his letter here. It says, "Find and closed a collection of dial indicators that came out of a machine shop that closed down. For some reason, no one wanted them, so I'm going to pass them along to you." So these were in a machine shop, like he said, and nobody wanted them. He picked them up and wanted to find a good home for them. And I think we can find a good home for them. So really nice collection here. There's some Federals, there's some Brown & Sharps, there's some Starretts. This is I think a 1/4-inch movement, thousandths resolution. This one here is kind of cool. This is a Federal. I've never seen one like this. So it's marked in thousandths, but then it has increments for 1/4 thousandths of an inch. So that's 250 millionths, 0.00025. I've seen lots of indicators that had 1/2 thousandths marked, but never 1/4 thousandths. So anyway, that's kind of cool. And it's in good shape. Another Federal here. This is about a, 1/8 inch travel, thousandths resolution. This one's kind of neat, Brown & Sharp. What's neat about it is it's got this little handle on the side that raises that up. I believe this was probably on a test stand where you would put a piece up underneath this, and this would be mounted, and you would drop that down on there to get a measurement to see if it was in tolerance. And then this would have been to raise it up and down to move your parts in and out. But I don't have any with that little handle on it. Another Federal here, thousandths resolution, looks like about a 1/8 or 1/4 inch travel. Brown & Sharp here, 1 inch travel. This is a real beauty. It is just a little bit sticky, but we can fix that. And thousandths resolution on it. Another Federal here with thousandths resolution, again, inch movement on it. Nice little indicator there. And then there's 3 of these Starretts, large dial faces on them. I think they're, 1/8 inch movement, maybe 1/4 inch movement in thousandths. That one's just a little bit sticky too, but we can definitely fix those. These are really nice because of the large dial on them. You can really see what's going on. So Ted, again, wow. Oh yeah, these two. These are little feet that go on the bottom, and I think these were probably shop made, and I think they're made out of titanium, which is kind of crazy. I mean, they're really light. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that's titanium. But anyway, really nice collection here of indicators. We're going to find quite a few of these I'm going to keep myself for sure. They're just really nice. Some of the ones that I don't end up keeping, we'll find a good home for them. We'll find someone that needs them, and I'll either do some horse trading or just give them to some folks or whatever. But definitely got some nice stuff here. And Ted, thank you so much for sharing it with me. Another little recent purchase for the shop, and I thought I'd show this. This is a kind of a neat little item, and there's a guy here in town that actually had these for sale. I had some machines for sale too. I posted some things on Facebook and was helping move them, and several guys picked up the several machines from him out there. But these are some workstations, just some tables that he had, and these actually came out of a factory here in Tifton, where I live at, that used to be here, that made spark plug wires. Prestolite was the company. They shut down and moved out. some years ago, and I think he bought a bunch of stuff at auction. When I got this, it had just all kinds of air-powered stuff on here for making spark plug wires. I took all that off the table, got it cleaned up. There's some holes in here where all that stuff was mounted. But really it's gonna make a nice little table. And what's neat about these is that they're adjustable. It's got a little electric motor in it, and these tables will raise up and down to kind of fit whatever you're working on, which I thought would be a really handy thing to have in the shop. When you're working on something, you need to adjust to the height of it. I've actually been looking for some adjustable height tables to go in here. I haven't even seen how high this thing will go. We're gonna find out right now. But that's it. And then goes down same way. Let's see how far down it'll go. So that's the low end. So, you know, it goes up, it probably has about a 2.5 foot range of height in here. So anyway, I think this is gonna be really handy. Has a work light up here. I gotta get some bulbs for it, and may have to fiddle with that a little bit, but really nice thing. And by the way, he actually has a few more of these for sale for $150 a piece. So if anybody is interested in one of these things, shoot me an email. I got my email right down here. I can hook you up with the guy that's got these, and you know, get them while they last. He's just trying to get them out of his way to make room for some other stuff in his shop. And anyway, we can find a home for some more of these. That'd be great. So next items here, got some stuff that was sent in to me by Bob Teeter, and Bob is a longtime viewer of the channel and has graciously sent in items before to use around the shop. And this is just a little assortment of things. I got an assortment set of snap rings, which is nice. I really like these assortment sets. He also sent an assortment set of O-rings. You know, anytime if I ever need a snap ring, I will probably go and buy an assortment, because you're going to need some again, and it's just better to have a little tray of random size stuff in the shop. So I got a bunch of these things sitting over there, and I don't have O-rings or snap rings, so this is nice. He also sent along a set of snap ring pliers, which are always handy for dealing with snap rings. So Bob, thanks again for sending stuff in. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure all this stuff will get put to use at some point in time. There have been several times that I've needed some O-rings, and I've been thinking, I've been wanting to get an assortment set of both of these, so that you beat me to the punch. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. Well, I had two big, large flat rate boxes show up in the mail yesterday, and I knew these were coming. I had talked with the person who sent them, but anyway, these come from Leo Nadeo. Leo, I apologize if I mispronounced your last name there. He's in Kansas, and Leo, I think he told me he's a retired machinist, and he had a bunch of tooling laying around the shop that he thought needed to find someone that he could use it. And anyway, first off, packaging. Leo, you nailed it. The boxes came in excellent shape. What we got in here, guys, are a bunch of horizontal milling cutters, and I told Leo when he shipped these to just take some plywood and line the inside of these flat rate boxes with it. So he had some little fiberboard here, whatever. Didn't nail it together, but he just lined it, and you can see the boxes held up great. These flat rate boxes, they're wonderful. I ship stuff in them all the time, get stuff in them all the time, but when you fill them up with a bunch of loose cutters like this, I've had boxes show up that were halfway full, where half the contents had spilled out between here and there, where they just fell apart. But a lot of guys have done this little trick, and it really works great. So anyway, just a little tip: if you're ever shipping anything loose in these boxes, it doesn't take a whole lot. But what he has here is he told me he had a bunch of gear cutters, involute cutters, miscellaneous cutters for gear cutting. He said some of these things are really old. These are some that he's had for a really long time, and he did repairs, did a lot of farm repairs, made a lot of gears and sprockets and so forth back years ago when he was in the business. And anyway, he said he had about 100 or so cutters, and I said, you know, these are what I'm really looking for the horizontal mill, in particular these involute cutters. You know, I get the opportunity to do some gear work every now and then, And for every gear pitch, I think is it 6 or 8? 8, I think, cutters to do the full range of gears. So, you think the number of gear pitches they have, I mean, there are literally, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these to have a complete set. And every time I need to do a gear job, it seems like I've got a bunch, but I never have the right one. So anytime I can pick up some involute cutters, I'm real excited. So anyway, I'm gonna unpack these boxes. I'll share you guys the boredom of that. He did a great job, wrapped each one of them up individually and put them all in here. And we'll kind of sort through these real quick and come back and show you what we got. All right, guys, well, I sorted out all these involute cutters by pitch. And as I was going through them, some of these are for regular gears, some of these are for bevel gears. So like I said before, there's 8 individual cutters for each pitch, and then like I said, there's a regular spur gear, and then there's bevel gears. On the bevel gears, I think there's 8 also. So even though there's a lot in some of these piles, and I'm sure I do probably have some duplicates in here, I don't think there's as many duplicates as it looks like. There are actually still quite a few holes, but this is a huge step forward in my collection of involutes. So we start up here. This was a 1 1/4 pitch. I think this was a 2 pitch, and then these are all 3s, 4s, 5s, 6 pitches, 7, 8s. Yeah, and then it goes to 10s, and then 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, 20s, and then down here on the end, there's some teeny tiny ones. Let's see, there was a 28 pitch, there's a 40 pitch, I think, so some 26 pitch here, so some real fine ones. And then up here in the front, there's some involutes in here, but they're not marked as what size. There's also some cutters in here for cutting sprockets, I think, and then there's some roll cutters. There's just some miscellaneous stuff in here as well. But all in all, a very awesome collection of horizontal mill cutters, and these are all things that I really kind of had holes for. But Leo, I want to say thank you so much. This is going to be a huge help to me for the shop here. This is really helping fill out some holes. Like I said, every time it seems like I go to do a gear job, and I get some emails, people want me to help them do gears, and quite honestly, there's been a few times that I've turned down some jobs because I didn't have the right cutters, and then the cost of buying new cutters and finding the cutters was going to be a problem for the person that I was trying to help out. But having this inventory here, I know for a fact I'll never use each and every one of them, but you just never know which one you're going to need. And having lots of them on hand is always a big plus. Well, I got several announcements and events and whatever that I want to let you guys know about, and just some things in general. So first off, ARNFest 2017 is coming up in September 21st through 24th. This is an annual event that I've been going to since they started. I think this is the 13th year that we've done this. I'd have to add them back up. But anyway, ARNFest is held in Crystal Lake, Illinois, or at the Illinois Railway Museum, actually, in Union, Illinois, kind of between those two places, which is outside the Chicago area. It's not in Chicago, but it's kind of in that vicinity. And again, September 21st through 24th is the days. The big day is going to be on that Saturday out at the Illinois Railway Museum. We'll have a swap meet that morning. There'll be stuff going on, some demos and what have you throughout the day. It's kind of this group that does this, that sponsors this, is really kind of over on the old woodworking machines forum, discussion forum, but there is metalworking, woodworking stuff all going on together. It's really kind of a vintage machinery type get together, and it's held at the Illinois Railway Museum, which is really cool. I'm planning on going again, and I will be up there on probably that Friday and Saturday. Not sure if I'll be around on Sunday. I may hit the road and head on back home on Sunday, because it's pretty much a day and a half drive for me to get up there. But if anybody would like to come, in last couple of years, we've had quite a few people from the YouTube community that have come to this. Last year, Mr. Pete was actually there. I don't know of any other creators besides myself who are going to be there as of right now. But if you're interested in coming, I highly encourage it. It's a lot of fun. They have a big swap meet on Saturday morning out at the museum, at the Illinois Railway Museum. And like I said, it's just a really good time. So if you're interested in going, go over to ironfest.com, ARNFEST. It's a play on words. ARN is kind of like iron. Somebody came up with that, and it's just kind of stuck. But anyway, go to ironfest.com, and you can register for the event there. There is a registration fee. If you want to do the full meal, the full thing, all the days, they have a banquet on Saturday night at the hotel, at the Holiday Inn Hotel in Crystal Lake, Illinois, where they have a big auction. There's a silent auction and live auction that raises money that helps support the Vintage Machinery website, as well as the Old Woodworking Machines discussion forum, as well as some other things as well. They give some money back to the museum, the Illinois Railway Museum, etc. That's kind of the culmination event on Saturday night. If you want to do the full thing, it's $75. If you want to just come out to the museum on one day, to the Illinois Railway Museum, like on Saturday, which is the day I probably would recommend coming, that's when the most things are going on, it's $35 for a day pass. But you need to register online. Right now, when I looked, there was about 50 people already signed up for the event, and there, last couple of years, we've had well over 100 people at this thing. So I think last year we were about 150 people. So anyway, if you want to come, here's your chance. ironfest.com, register online. Second thing, we will be hosting another Richard King scraping class here at my shop. And I know I've always get questions, people asking about that. So this will be the third one that we've hosted here this year. There's actually been quite a bit of demand for it. And Richard's been great to continue coming down through this. The dates we got scheduled for the Richard King scraping class here at my shop in Tifton, Georgia is going to be Thursday, November 2nd through Monday, November 6th. It's a 5-day scraping class. It's a hands-on class where you come in and learn the basics of scraping, start out with a hand scraper, go to a power scraper. You start out just on a block of cast iron, learning the basics, and then toward the end of the class, you'll be working on a project that you bring to practice your scraping skills. And we will be doing some demonstrations and talking about restoring machinery and how to set up and measure machines and so forth. It's a really good class. It's a really in-depth class. Like I said, it's 5 full days of just drinking from a fire hose. You're going to really be learning a lot. It is rather expensive. The cost of the class is $1,650, and all that goes to Richard King, who goes around teaching these classes around the country. Yes, I know that's expensive, but it's expensive to put on these classes. He has to bring in a lot of stuff and travel a long way to come here, shipping, and just the overhead and all the equipment and everything that he brings and provides for the class. It's not a cheap thing to do. But if you're interested in that, as of right now, there's room for 10 students in the class. And as of right now, I think I have 8 people signed up. So we've got 2 open slots, and we kind of gave people who were on my waiting list first shot. And so some of those guys have already signed up and registered. But I do have 2 more open slots. If anybody's interested, please send me an email right down here, krucker@friendlycity.net. And I can get you the details, and we'll get Richard to invoice you for the class and get you signed up. We would love to have you. It's a really good class, and I highly recommend it. And the final thing that I just want to mention is my Patreon account, and I try not to plug it too much, but I have done a little thing that we're doing a little bit different there now, and I just wanted to kind of make people aware of that. So if you become a Patreon, in other words, if you basically sponsor my channel monetarily a little bit, if you just $1 a month, if you put in $1 a month, you become a Patreon. And what I am starting to do for my Patreons is when I upload videos, sometimes I get my videos, they may be uploaded a week before I actually publish them. And I'm actually giving the Patreons early access to my videos before they actually post to go live. And that seems to be kind of a popular thing. The guys on Patreon seem to really enjoy getting to get first access to my videos. Now the caveat to that is that sometimes I'm getting videos uploaded literally just in time to get them posted up live. And if I don't have time to, if I get the video uploaded and, and then it's time to to hit it to go live, you won't get early access. But when I do get them on there early, which is probably about half my videos, maybe a little bit more than that, I do give the Patreons early access. And I know a lot of you guys, there seems to always be a contest over to see who can be the first person to comment on one of my videos, which I kind of find fun. And when I'm looking at my comments, I usually just kind of look to see who it is. I haven't kept tally, but there's a couple of guys who are definitely leaders in that, and who have a knack for being the first one to leave a comment. But now that I'm doing this, if you're not a Patreon, these other guys kind of can get in ahead of you. So anyway, just a little bit of a trick on that. And I have some options in there. If you do $5 a month, I'll send you some decals, channel decals. If you do $25, I'll send you an embroidered apron. But guys, all I'm asking, if you can just do $1 a month, and if you can't, no big deal. It's not that big of a deal, but I would love to get some more people on there. The money that we get off of Patreon, I put all that money back into the shop here. It goes into machinery, it goes into tooling, it goes into restorations, it goes into the shop itself. We're about to, hopefully this fall, start working on ceiling and walls and getting the wood shop side finished up. So it costs a lot of money to do that, and the money that comes in on Patreon, every bit of that gets reinvested back into the shop, and that basically gets reinvested in making more videos for you guys to see. So if you can do that, great. If you can't, it's not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker if you can't. I understand not everybody can do that, and I'm not asking everybody to do it. But if you feel like you want to support the channel, Patreon is a good way to do it. So anyway, that's my announcements, and with that, this video will be a wrap. So thanks as always for watching. Always appreciate everybody. Leave me some comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you saw, and share it on social media so other people can discover the channel. We are getting really, really close to hitting that 100,000 subscriber threshold. I think when I looked this morning, we were roughly about 1,500 subscribers away from hitting 100,000 subscribers, which again is incredible. I never would have thought that we would hit that milestone, and it looks like we may be able to hit it here in the next month or so. So that is really awesome as well, and I'm greatly appreciated to all of you guys that subscribe to the channel. So thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.